Hello everybody. Today I want to talk to you about a corporation called Monsanto. How many of you have heard the name Monsanto mentioned on the news? Monsanto is a corporation that has more than likely affected your life one way or another, and you need to know about it. Monsanto creates genetically modified organisms. Their number one product are their seeds, their patent seeds. These genetically modified seeds have their own insecticide and herbicide. They're used by farmers all over the world because they're designed to grow in inclement weather, poor soil. They're very popular. There are farmers that don't want to use GMO seeds. Monsanto has a product for them as well. It's called Roundup. It's a spray. You spray it on your crops. It's an herbicide and insecticide. It does taint the DNA structure of the plant, so some farmers don't want to use that either. Well, Monsanto has something for them. It's their breeding program. They have plants that have specific DNA traits. They breed it with another plant that has different traits, and they make a whole new breed of plants. They sell these plants to people who do not want to use GMO products, countries that refuse to buy it, organic farmers. So as you can see, Monsanto has a great product line. They actually have their hands on the nation's food supply. And I want to share with you how they're actually controlling the United States food supply. Monsanto owns quite a bit of our crops. One such crop is our corn. Monsanto owns 88% of our corn crops. That's the number one crop in the United States. Soybeans. 93% of our soybean crops are Monsanto. Soybeans are used for hydrogenated oils. So your favorite bag of potato chips, your processed foods, they have Monsanto traits. Cottonseed. 94% Monsanto. That's your margarines, your vegetable oils. Papaya. 75% Monsanto. Canola. 90% Monsanto. That's canola oil. Sugar beets. This one was new for me. Did you know that 54% of our sugar is derived from sugar beets? Guess who owns 90% of our sugar beets? Monsanto. You got to be wondering, how did this happen? We're eating this stuff, and I mean, is it healthy? Who's testing this? There have been studies. There have been many studies. Monsanto's been good at keeping it quiet. But I have one such study I'm going to read to you. It was performed by the International Journal of Biological Sciences. Let me read to you what they came up with after they tested Monsanto corn. Effects were mostly concentrated in kidney and liver functions. Some effects were in the heart, adrenal, spleen, and blood cells. We therefore conclude that our data strongly suggests that these GMO corn varieties include a state of hepaternal toxicity. What is that? In layman's terms, that's when your kidney and liver fail. That's what happened to the rats that consumed Monsanto's GMO corn. Do you want to eat that? Do you want to feed that to your family? So, after learning about Monsanto's products, and you got to wonder, how were they able to get this out to you? One such method is they have people in our government. I know. Get the foil hat, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I can prove it. One such person, Ann Veneman, she served as the Secretary of Agriculture in 2001 and 2005. She also served on the board of directors for Monsanto. Tommy Thompson, when he ran for his position for United States Secretary of Health, he received a mighty generous donation from Monsanto, $50,000. He won. A name I know you're familiar with, Donald Rumsfeld, the former Secretary of Defense from 2001 to 2006. Mr. Donald Rumsfeld also served on Monsanto's board of directors, their pharmaceutical division. And here's a name I want you to remember. Michael Taylor. He is currently the Deputy Commissioner for Foods and Agriculture and Veterinary Medicine. Mr. Michael Taylor also served as the Vice President for Monsanto's Public Policy. Conflict of interest? Yeah, I would say so. Michael Taylor, remember that name. What these positions tell me, and what it should be telling you, is how deeply embedded Monsanto is in our United States government, and how these positions are able to drive our food policies. One such policy, nicknamed the Monsanto Protection Act. How many of you have heard of that? It's actually a spending bill, H.R. 933. Highly suggest you look it up. In Section 735 of this bill, it bans the federal courts from being able to halt the sale and planting of GMO crops, even if health issues arrive in the future. This bill also protects GMO companies from lawsuits. What this means to you is if you eat GMO products and get sick, you can't sue these companies. Is that justice? Interesting enough, the federal courts also stated that they cannot prevent the contamination of GMO crops. Let me tell you how this affects our farmers. Imagine that you are a farmer. You've been using the same heirloom seeds for generations, never once touching a GMO product of any kind. One day you get a knock on the door, a summons to appear in court. You are being accused of stealing from Monsanto. You are accused of using their products and not paying the royalties. This is happening. There were 144 lawsuits filed against these farmers, and they went into Monsanto's favor when these farmers never touched GMO products at all. You wonder how this happened? It's contamination. These farmers are unfortunate enough to have their farm located next to another farm that's using GMO seeds. Pollination, the wind, the bees, they carry the traits from the GMO crops and they drop them onto the non-GMO crops. Monsanto, being very familiar with this, sends surveyors out to these farms and they test the crops. And when they come back with GMO properties, they take these farmers to court and they win. Justice. So after looking at how Monsanto is affecting the farmers, how they infiltrated the government, how they control the seed market, you'd be surprised to know that they are also now looking to control our dairy products. Monsanto now is playing with a product called bovine growth hormones. An employee from Monsanto, Margaret Miller, her job was to write a report that stated that these bovine growth hormones are safe for human consumption. Shortly after writing the report, she quit Monsanto and was hired by the FDA. Guess what her first job was for that company? To approve the report she wrote for Monsanto. Monsanto approved their own report. And remember when I mentioned Michael Taylor? Well, Michael Taylor, Federal Food and Drug Administration, Michael Taylor, his job is to decide if it's okay to label these products or not. So when you're drinking your glass of ice cold milk, you can thank Michael Taylor if you don't know these products have bovine growth hormones or not. The corruption is staggering. If you are not upset that these foods could possibly hurt you, you should at least be concerned how one corporation managed to infiltrate our government and change our food policies. It's horrifying. And if it affects you like it affects me, there are things you can do about it. One, you can write your congressman. You can ask him, what does he think about bovine growth hormones? What does he think about GMOs? Does he accept campaign donations, maybe, from Monsanto? Another thing you can do is be very careful who you vote for. Be sure you research them very, very well before you vote. You can also participate in marches. There are marches in almost every city in our nation against Monsanto. There are also petitions against Monsanto online. You can sign them. There are many, many ways to participate. It's said that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So squeak! Make noise. This is your time to shine. This is your time to get your opinion out there and stop this corruption. If you don't do it, who will? It's an injustice that Monsanto was able to get their hands on our nation's food supply. So let me leave you with something Gandhi once said about justice. Justice does not help those who slumber, but only helps those who are vigilant.